I think we've all had that moment. You walk out of a brightly lit house, maybe you're just taking out the trash or walking the dog, and you look up,
Oh, yeah.
and for a split second, if it's a really crisp, clear night, it is just
It's
overwhelming.
a splatter painting. I mean, that's really the only way to describe it.
Exactly. It's beautiful, sure, but it's completely illegible. You know there are bears and hunters and queens up there.
Right, the stories you hear as a kid.
Yeah, but when you actually look, it's just a million random pinpricks of light. It makes you feel small and honestly a little lost.
Which is a universal human experience of the night sky, really.
Yeah.
Well, and until you learn to read it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key distinction here.
Mm.
Most people look at the sky. Astronomers read it.
And that is our mission for today's deep dive. We are taking that chaos and we are turning it into a map.
A very cool map.
We've got a fascinating stack of materials for this. We are looking at a transcript from a lecture by Jaden Shen called Are You Serious? Constellations, and this is my favorite part, a set of really detailed, handwritten student notes that go with it.
I love those notes so much.
Yeah.
They take the high-level astronomy from the lecture and basically translate it into, okay, but how do I actually see this stuff from my backyard?
Right, without $1 million telescope. So
Yeah.
we're going to cover the art of star hopping. We're going to look at the physics, why some stars are blue and some are red, and why that actually matters.
Because it really does matter.
It does. But mostly, we're going to give you the cheat codes to the night sky.
Cheat codes is definitely the right word, because we are not trying to memorize all 88 constellations today. If you try to do that, you'll just quit.
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking for the anchors.
But before we get to those anchors, we should probably clear up a definition. Because I think most people, myself included, honestly, assume a constellation is just the stick figure.
The picture, yeah.
Right, the lines connecting the dots to make the bear or whatever.
And colloquially, that is how we use the word. But the lecture makes a really important distinction early on. Scientifically speaking, a constellation isn't the picture. It's the territory.
Like a state on a map.
Exactly like that. The International Astronomical Union, the IAU, has divided the entire sky, the whole celestial sphere, into 88 specific regions.
Okay.
So every single star up there, no matter how faint it is, belongs to a specific constellation. It's an address. Even if you aren't part of the city center, you're still in this state.
So even if a star isn't part of the actual stick figure of the bear, it is still physically in the territory of the bear.
Precisely. But for the sake of our deep dive today, and for anyone who's actually going to go stand in their backyard tonight,
Yeah.
we really only care about the patterns.
Which the lecture calls asterisms, right?
Right. Asterisms are the recognizable shapes that help us navigate that territory.
Okay, asterisms. Let's navigate. The student notes start with the absolute heavyweight champion of the Northern Hemisphere. If you know literally nothing else, you probably know this one.
The Big Dipper.
But here is a big, well, actually, moment from those notes that really surprised me. The Big Dipper is not a constellation.
It is not. It's an asterism.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just the most visible part of a much larger constellation called Ursa Major, which is the Great Bear. The Dipper itself is just the bear's rear end and its remarkably long tail.
Which has always bothered me. Bears do not have long tails. Why is there a long-tailed bear in the sky?
Huh? Well, in the mythology, the god Zeus stretched the tail out when he grabbed the bear and swung it up into the heavens.
That is a very convenient explanation for a biological inaccuracy.
Very convenient. But sticking to the visuals, everyone can find the Dipper. It's that big spoon shape, 7 bright stars.
But the real insight from the notes isn't just finding it, it's using it as a tool. They call it the compass of the cosmos.
Yes, and this is the very first trick of star hopping. You don't just look at the Dipper, you look through it.
Okay, so walk us through that. Visualize the spoon, you have the handle, and you have the cup.
Right. You want to focus specifically on the cup of the spoon. Look at the 2 stars at the very end of the cup, the ones furthest away from the handle.
The notes call those Duhet and Merak.
Duhay and Merak. Got it. These are your pointer stars.
Pointer stars.
If you draw a straight line from Merak through, so basically going from the bottom of the cup up through the rim, and you just keep driving that imaginary line out into the darkness.
You hit a star that's just sitting all by itself in a relatively dark patch of sky.
Polaris, the North Star.
And this is where the lecture corrects a huge misconception. I think if you asked 10 people on the street, 9 of them would probably say the North Star is the brightest star in the sky.
Oh, easily.
I definitely thought that for a really long time.
And they would be completely wrong. It is actually pretty average. It's a standard second magnitude star. If you are in a city with a lot of light pollution, You might not even be able to spot it.
So why is it so incredibly famous if it's so dim?
Location, location, location. It sits almost perfectly directly above the Earth's North Pole.
Oh, I see.
So as the Earth spins, the entire sky looks like it is rotating around Polaris. It is the anchor bolt. It never moves.
That makes sense. So once you find Polaris, you know exactly which way is north, and you've also inadvertently found a second constellation,
Right, because Polaris is the star at the very end of the handle of the Little Dipper.
also known as Ursa Minor.
Exactly.
Now, the notes do mention that the Little Dipper is distinctively harder to find. It's not just a smaller version of the Big Dipper, it's actually much fainter.
It is. The stars in the handle of the Little Dipper are quite faint. In a suburban sky, you might only see Polaris and then the two stars at the end of its little cup. So that often looks less like a dipper and more like a faint little curve.
But the star hopping technique doesn't stop there. The notes have this great sketch. It shows a line extending from the Big Dipper, going through Polaris, and then continuing all the way to the other side of the sky.
Ah, yes. The queen on her throne. Cassiopeia.
I love Cassiopeia because it requires zero imagination. It is literally just a big, bright W.
Or an M, depending on the season and the time of night.
Right?
It's 5 stars. Very bright, very compact. And it sits directly opposite the Big Dipper. So they work almost like a seesaw.
How do you mean?
Well, when the Big Dipper is really high in the sky, Cassiopeia is low on the horizon, and vice versa. But they are always circling around that central pivot point of Polaris.
So that is your northern roadmap right there. The Big Dipper points to Polaris. Polaris anchors the Little Dipper. And that exact same line continues on to Cassiopeia. You have 3 major constellations locked in just by drawing one straight line.
And that is the absolute efficiency of the star hopping method. You aren't scanning random dots anymore. You're following a highway.
Okay, let's move to a different season. The lecture calls this next one the Winter King. If you are looking up in January or February, this is the one that completely dominates the view.
Orion the Hunter.
Even if you know literally nothing about astronomy, you probably know the belt.
3 stars. Perfect spacing. Perfect diagonal line. It is arguably the most recognizable feature in the entire night sky because, well, nature rarely makes straight lines like that.
But the notes suggest that Orion is useful for way more than just looking cool. He is described as a sky map key.
A central hub.
Right. But before we get to the map part, I want to talk about the colors.
Yeah.
Because the handwritten notes make a really big deal about the shoulders and the knees of Orion.
Yes. This is usually the very first time people realize that stars actually have colors. If you look at Orion's shoulder, the top left, you have Betelgeuse.
And it is not white.
No, it's a distinct glowing orange-red. Even just with the naked eye, you can see it looks warm.
And then the knee, the bottom right, is Rigel.
Which is an icy blue-white. The contrast is just stark. You have this red giant on the shoulder and this blue supergiant on the knee. It's practically a traffic light in the sky.
Okay, so we've got the visuals down. Now let's use the key. We are going to use the belt as our line drawer again.
Right. So imagine you are looking at Orion. Take the line of those 3 belt stars and follow it down and to the left. Just extend that diagonal line down towards the horizon.
And you run straight into the brightest star in the sky.
Sirius.
And this time, we mean literally the brightest, not like the Polaris misconception.
Exactly. Unlike Polaris, Sirius is an absolute torch. It flashes blue and white, and sometimes it even looks like a rainbow because it's so intensely bright that it refracts through the atmosphere. It is unmistakable.
And Sirius is part of Canis Major.
The big dog. And the mythology is actually really consistent here. Orion is the hunter, and Sirius is his hunting dog trailing right behind him.
Okay, so belt down and left gets us the dog. Now, what if we go the other way, up and to the right?
If you follow the belt line up and to the right, you'll hit a star that has a distinct orange-red glow. It's somewhat similar to Betelgeuse, but not quite as intense. That is Aldebaran.
And Aldebaran is in Taurus.
Yes, it's the angry red eye of the bull. And the V shape of stars right around it forms the bull's face. So the scene playing out in the sky is actually pretty dramatic. You have Orion holding up a shield, facing down towards the bull who is charging at him, while his dog Sirius is barking from behind.
It's an action movie frozen in place.
It really is. And if you keep going past the bull, just a little bit further along that same line, you hit something that the notes describe as a fuzzy little thumbprint.
The Seven Sisters.
The Pleiades. It is a star cluster. To the naked eye, it looks almost like a tiny, shimmering micro dipper. It's stunning.
So again, just like in the north, one single anchor Orion's belt gets you the dog, the bull, and the sisters.
It makes the sky feel a lot smaller, doesn't it?
Yeah.
More connected.
It really does. Now I want to jump to a different season and a really specific rhyme that was in the transcript. This is for the spring sky, and we're using the Big Dipper's handle again. The phrase is arc to Arcturus and drive a spike to Spica.
Oh, this is a classic. Every single astronomy student learns this one.
Break it down for us because driving a spike sounds a little violent.
Ha! It's purely geometric, I promise.
Hmm.
Go back to the Big Dipper. Look at the handle. Notice that it's not straight, it's curved. It forms an arc. So imagine extending that curve away from the Dipper, trailing behind the bear. You just follow that arc across the sky until you hit a very bright orange star.
That's Arcturus.
Correct. It's in the constellation Bootes. It's actually the fourth brightest star in the sky. You really can't miss it.
So we arc to Arcturus. What about the spike part?
You continue that exact same curve, but now you straighten it out. You drive a spike straight down to the next bright star, which is Spica.
And Spica is in Virgo.
Yes, it's a blue-white star. So you get this really nice color contrast again. The orange of Arcturus and the blue-white of Spica.
Speaking of shapes that span across the sky, the lecture mentions the summer triangle, but it explicitly clarifies that it's not a constellation.
Right, and this causes a lot of confusion. The summer triangle is an asterism, but it is huge. It's made of 3 stars from 3 entirely different constellations.
No, the supergroup.
Exactly like a supergroup. You have Vega, which is almost straight overhead in the summer, Deneb, and Altair. They are the alpha stars, the brightest stars of the Harp, the Swan, and the Eagle.
And because they are so bright, they pop out even in the twilight.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you look up in July or August, just after sunset, before it's even fully dark, you'll see these 3 bright stars forming a giant triangle. Everything else is still completely hidden by the blue sky. That is your main signpost for the season.
I want to shift gears just a little bit here. We have been talking about the official shapes and the mythology, but one of my absolute favorite parts of this deep dive was looking at the handwritten student notes. Because let's be honest, sometimes the official name does not match the picture at all.
Oh, you mean you don't instantly see a winged horse when you look at a big square?
Exactly. The Great Square of Pegasus. It's literally 4 stars. It's a box. But the student notes have a little sketch next to it labeled Sputnik.
That is brilliant, and it's so accurate. You have the square body, and then the lines of stars coming off the corners look exactly like the antenna on those old satellites. It is a much more modern, stickier image than a flying horse.
There were a bunch of these quick IDs in the notes that I thought were just so great. For Leo the lion, the lecturer talks about the sickle or the backwards question mark for the head.
Which is the standard astronomical description, yeah.
But the student just drew a mouse.
I saw that. Mouse with long tail. And honestly, once you see the mouse, you cannot unsee it. The question mark is the head, the triangle part is the body, and the tail sticks out the back. It looks way more like a mouse than a majestic lion.
Then there is Cepheus. In the mythology, he is the king, he's the husband to Cassiopeia, but he's not exactly very distinctive.
He's a pentagon.
Right, and the notes call him the house.
Like a child's drawing of a house. Square bottom, pointy triangle roof. It's actually really helpful because Cepheus can be pretty faint. If you're scanning the sky looking for a king, you'll be completely lost. If you look for a crooked little house, you'll find it instantly.
What about Gemini?
The twins, Castor and Pollux. The notes describe them as 2 stick figures holding hands, which is actually quite sweet.
Yeah.
Very accurate. You see 2 bright stars for the heads and then 2 parallel lines of fainter stars that make up the bodies.
Oh, and we can't forget Draco and Scorpio.
Right, Draco the dragon. But the notes just say to look for a big letter N.
A snake or a big N winding right between the Big and Little Dippers. It's so much easier to find an N shape than a dragon.
And Scorpio's fantastic. The notes describe it as a big S shape, or like a giant fishhook with a bright red heart right in the middle.
That red heart being the star Antares.
Exactly.
It's amazing how these simple shapes, the house, the mouse, the fishhook, are so effective. It takes all the intimidation factor away. You aren't looking for a celestial deity, you're just looking for a box.
It personalizes the sky. It reminds us that constellations are really just a game of connect the dots that we all agreed to play thousands of years ago.
Now, speaking of what we are actually looking at, the second half of the source material takes a pretty hard turn. We go from connect the dots directly into astrophysics. The notes have a whole section titled The Science Behind the Sparkle.
And this is key, because so far we have been treating stars like they're all exactly the same, just maybe brighter or fainter. But they are distinct physical objects with actual personalities.
The first thing the notes tackle is brightness. and they use two different terms, apparent magnitude and absolute magnitude. And I will be honest, the notes here get a little dense.
It is a crucial distinction, though. Apparent magnitude is simply what you see. It's how bright the star looks from your backyard.
But that can be a total lie.
A complete lie. Think about a flashlight 5 feet away from your face versus a massive stadium spotlight 10 miles away. The flashlight might look brighter to you in that moment, but the spotlight is powerfully brighter in reality.
So absolute magnitude is basically the truth serum.
Right. It's a mathematical calculation. It asks a hypothetical question. If we lined up all the stars at exactly the same distance from Earth, which astronomers define as 10 parsecs, how bright would they actually be? It levels the playing field completely.
And the notes also mention luminosity here.
Yes, luminosity is the actual total amount of energy a star produces every single second.
And when we level that playing field, we realize that our sun is, well, it isn't all that special.
It's pretty average. I mean, if you put the sun right next to Rigel or Deneb at that exact same distance of 10 parsecs, the sun would be a tiny speck. We wouldn't even notice it.
Wow. The notes also have this string of letters that looks like a terrible Scrabble hand. O, B, A, F, G, K, M.
The spectral classes. This is the alphabet of the stars. It sorts them by temperature.
And there is a mnemonic in the notes for this, which I think is straight from the 1950s or something.
Be a fine girl or guy kiss me.
It is so cheesy, but it works. O is at one end, M is at the other. But here's the part that I found confusing, and the student actually put a giant question mark next to it in the margins. The colors seem entirely backward.
They do. We're so used to our bathroom faucets, right?
Ugh.
Red means hot, blue means cold.
Right. But the notes say O-class stars, the absolute hottest ones, are blue. And M-class stars, the coolest ones, are red. Why is physics trolling us?
It's actually all about energy. Think about a flame on a gas stove. The base of the flame, right where it is the hottest, is blue. The top of the flame, where it's cooling off and interacting with the air, flickers yellow or orange.
So blue light actually carries more energy.
Exactly. Blue light has a shorter wavelength and a higher frequency. It is intense. So an O-class star is burning at something like 30,000 Kelvin. It is furiously hot.
And the red stars.
The M-class stars, like Betelgeuse, they're cool. Well, relatively speaking, maybe 3,500 Kelvin.
Still hot enough to burn you to a crisp, obviously, but cool for a star.
Right.
And where does our sun fit into all this?
The sun is a G-class star. It's yellow-white. It is right in the middle. The notes call it a main sequence star, which is class V.
Which basically means it's in the prime of its life.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is burning hydrogen, doing its job, staying perfectly stable. It's like having a steady middle management job. But the notes also mention giants and supergiants, which are class 1.
Which brings us right back to Orion. We talked about Betelgeuse and Rigel earlier.
This is honestly the best example of stellar evolution you can see with your naked eye. Rigel is a blue supergiant. It is young, extremely hot, and it's burning through its fuel at a terrifying rate. It is living fast and dying young.
And Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse is a red supergiant. It's a very old star. It has run out of its primary fuel. It is puffed up to an enormous size, and because it puffed up, it cooled down, turning red. It is basically on its deathbed.
Wait, so when we look up at Orion, we are seeing a nursery and a nursing home at the exact same time.
That is a great way to put it. Betelgeuse could go supernova tomorrow. Or, honestly, it might have already happened, and the light just hasn't reached Earth yet.
That adds such a heavy layer to it. You aren't just seeing a pretty red dot on a hunter's shoulder. You are seeing a dying giant.
It perfectly connects the mythology to the astrophysics. The hunter is made of stars that are themselves hunting for fuel, living out these massive cosmic life cycles right in front of us.
So we've got our map, the anchors, we've got our funny shapes, the mouse and the house, and we've got the physics behind the sparkle. Now, Jaden Chen's lecture ended with some very specific study advice. How do we actually make all of this stick?
The advice was incredibly tactile. Don't just look at a screen. Trace the patterns.
Trace them.
Literally hold your finger up to the night sky. Draw the line from the Dipper to Polaris. Draw the square of Pegasus. The lecture really emphasizes that muscle memory applies to your eyes and your brain too. If you physically trace it, you own it.
The student notes also mention using flashcards, specifically an app like GoConquer, to memorize the shapes before you go outside.
Which is smart, because you don't want to try to learn the whole sky at once while you're standing in the dark.
No. That is a recipe for neck pain and failure. Stick to the anchors, learn one new hop a night, look for the brightest star first to anchor yourself.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to our homework. We cannot let you listen to a deep dive on astronomy and just stay inside on your couch.
This is a direct call to action. Tonight, check the weather. If it is clear, put on a coat.
Step 1. Go outside and find the Big Dipper. It's usually the easiest thing to spot in the northern sky.
Step 2. Find the pointers, those 2 stars at the end of the cup.
Step 3. Draw the line and find Polaris.
And step 4. If you are feeling ambitious, keep that imaginary line going and find the Queen, Cassiopeia. Look for that W.
Just those 3. Dipper, Polaris, Queen. If you can do that, you have officially stopped looking at chaos and started reading the map.
And think about this while you're out there. When you trace that line to the North Star, you are looking at the exact same photon path that sailors used to cross the Atlantic Ocean. You are using the exact same celestial clock that farmers used to plant crops for 10,000 years.
We aren't just looking at random gas balls in a vacuum. We're participating in human history.
We're connecting the dots.
I love that. But I want to leave you with one final thought, something to mull over while you're looking up tonight. Because we talk about this map like it's permanent, but the stars are actually moving. Over millions of years, they drift.
Right. Proper motion.
Exactly. Which means the connect the dots puzzles our ancient ancestors saw look slightly different than ours. And 1,000,000 years from now, future humans won't see a bear or a hunter at all. The map will be completely redrawn. It's just a temporary snapshot in cosmic time.
Wow. That is an incredible thing to think about. The sky is alive.
It really is. So grab a coat, get outside, and look up. You might be surprised at what you can read in the dark. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Clear skies, everyone.